Hey, Josh.
Hey, Andrew. How's it going?
Hey, I've got a game for us today to play a little bit. It's a little yes and the business plan.
You've been watching a lot of Dropout, huh?
I have been watching a lot of dropping out and a lot of improv comedy. I wanted to try this out here. Basically, the idea is that we're going to take turns building a company,
Okay.
and each line starts with yes and.
Okay.
So
Okay.
I'll go first.
Okay.
I think we should build a company that's a martech company for veterinary clinics.
Okay. I think that we should build a martech company for veterinary clinics, specifically treating dachshunds.
Treating toxins. Yes, and we should treat very only the largest horses, like the Budweiser horses.
Oh, so like Clydesdales?
Yes, yeah.
Okay. Yes. And we should also, to round things out, we should treat the smallest so maybe like field mice as well as the Clydesdales. And
Ooh, I love field mice, especially if we're solving like the hantavirus thing.
yeah, yeah, exactly.
Yeah. We should also be we've got to round out the needs and also be a pharmacy for all the veterinary patients that we have.
Okay, sure. So, yes, and in addition to being a pharmacy, we should also have a spa so that these animals can come in, not only get the treatment that they need from a veterinary perspective, but also get the treatment that they need from a holistic, perspective as well. They need
Oh
to be able
yeah,
to
yeah.
relax.
Veterinary and wellness clinic.
Veterinary and wellness clinic specifically.
I love it. Get your self-care done for our little critter friends there and big, very big critter friends there too.
Absolutely.
So,
Mhm.
okay, yes, and I would say that, we've got to be with the times here. So we should do telehealth. So you should be able to, instead of having to bring in your pet because, especially your horse, because that's a lot, or actually, yeah, that you would just be able to, zoom in for a thing. Now we're gonna have to ask you if we need to have you go through the poops or something like that to go through it yourself if you do that. But but yeah, telehealth.
Got it, telehealth, and then from the marketing perspective, I feel like we should focus on the most important medium of our time, which is newspapers. We should only be marketing via newspaper ads and on the back of milk cartons.
I think that's a genius idea because by marketing to on newspapers, that'll really help us pull in on the hamster population.
Mm.
Hamster and rabbits. We'll just kill it there because newspapers and hamster pens. All right.
Do you got any more in you?
Yeah, I don't think I have any more of this. There's something else. That got weird. All right, here's a game called Worst Possible Product. What we're gonna do is we're gonna take turns inventing the worst ecom product or feature, one upping each other in each round. It has to sound like something a real founder would pitch with a straight face. So, for example, like a subscription box that sends you one sock a month, not two socks, but one sock, one like only the left pair of socks.
Okay.
Uh, so we go until somebody can't come up with something to top the last one.
Mm, okay.
Josh, you want to do the honors?
Okay, sure. Okay, so an e-commerce brand that exclusively sells invisible ink. You literally can't see it.
I think in addition to the invisible ink, we should be able to load that ink into like a mascara applier.
Mhm. In addition to the mascara applier, also invisible nail polish.
Oh yeah, love that.
Yep.
I think as we expand on that too, it should be invisible like gel, like the gel caps that you add to your nails, and so
Mhm.
you can't even see it, but you could scratch the shit out of somebody.
And the way that we can market this, the way we go to market is, minimalism is in. Like people are looking for minimalist products right now. They're trying to not be too much, right?
Mhm,
So
mhm.
what's less than basically nothing, right? Because you also can't do nothing. You could do something that looks like nothing. And now all of a sudden you're cool.
Okay, okay, I love it. How do we get more beige than that?
Millennial gray,
Millennial gray, maybe. I think I just lost the game because I can't come up with anything else. Well, that was quick.
improv champion.
All right, let's try another one. One word at a time. Build a sentence or fake press release together, one word each. No planning, no stopping to think. Pick a setup first so that it has a direction. Clever fake announces or Amazon is being sued because read the finished nonsense back at the end.
Okay. One word at a time. You want to start? I'll be writing it. So it's just one word.
Okay, okay. I guess I'm trying to pick a setup here, I suppose. So without being like without being too spicy, I suppose, you know. All right, let's do Starbucks announces
Starbucks announces. And then the next word I'm adding is pancakes.
with
Garlic,
and maple
maple, garlic and maple, hollandaise.
shakes
Starting,
yesterday.
I think that's probably a full sentence. The Starbucks announces pancakes with garlic and maple hollandaise shakes.
Starting yesterday.
Pretty good, pretty good. Okay, I'll start this time.
Alright.
Karaoke
Tuesdays.
Tuesdays takes
An unusual
an unusual turn when
Sam Altman.
shit. It takes an unusual turn when Sam Altman jailbreaks the
Apple Vision Pro.
Very good, very good. Karaoke Tuesdays takes an unusual turn when Sam Altman jailbreaks the Apple Vision Pro.
All right.
One word was a good one. I like that.
Yeah, yeah, that is a good one. All right, let's try this
Headline.
one. Yeah, yeah, go for it. Future ecom headline. All right, for a headline from 2030, we're going to invent a future ecom headline. It's wild, but almost believable. The game is staying on the edge of plausible, not just going random.
Yeah, but I like where I'm heading with this one. Okay, so
Okay, yeah. Yeah, throw it at
historic
me.
first Claude cart sale of real estate in Miami. So the idea is that somebody uses Claude to buy e-commerce goes from buying clothes and goods online through ChatGPT and Claude and other AI agents to buying real estate. I could see it happening. But anyway,
All right. That's a good one. Here's one that I think you would actually love to see here.
okay.
AI generated band bombs at Coachella.
All right.
Turns out they don't know how to play any instruments.
A fan was quoted, "I could have just gone to the movies.
Another fan said, I didn't have enough drugs to enjoy that."
There's not enough drugs in the world to enjoy that." Nice.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Try to like steer it towards e-commerce. Let me think.
Here's a game called Overrated, Underrated.
Mm.
So we're calling out an ecom thing, and you say which one is which, and you defend the line. So
Okay, I like it. I like it. Let's start with free returns.
free returns, free returns. I think free returns are actually. I'm going to add in my own category here. They're exactly rated. I think they're the right rating. I think you should have free returns if you're an ecom brand.
Yeah, I'm gonna agree with you there. I was gonna say maybe it depends a little bit on what you sell, but you might want to have maybe a more nuanced return policy depending on what you're selling. But I'd say overall, yeah, I agree. Especially as an e-commerce brand, especially if you're selling like shoes or things that are supposed to fit, kinda have to work in free returns because that's just the way that it goes. People are gonna be
Mm,
exchanging.
yeah,
Subscribe and save. So subscriptions.
yeah. Subscribe and save. What do you think?
I think subscribe and save is maybe underrated. I think it's mostly just rated right now. I would say, historically, it's been underrated. I think that more and more brands are realizing the, like, impact that having recurring revenue like that can have, and they're looking for ways to add products to their lineup that can be replenishable or can be subscription-based. So, I would say maybe, like, underrated, moving towards or maybe even just rated now, maybe on its way to overrated at this point, who knows?
Yeah, I'm gonna go with overrated. Actually, I think there's a lot of things out there that are subscribe and save for no reason whatsoever, and I also think that instead of doing so much subscribe and save stuff, that brands focus a lot more on educating their customers about how to be more successful with their products, and then push in the subscribe and save part of that. So I'm gonna say overrated. There's too much focus on just doing it as opposed to actually making it successful.
Absolutely. What would be a middle ground between just, like, one-off purchases and subscribe and save? Is there, like, some
Yeah, yeah. I think it's replenishment reminders that are tagged on with education, and also post-purchase funnels where you're doing education and like how to be successful with this product, whatever that product might be.
love it. Alright, same-day delivery.
Same day delivery. I think this is vastly overrated. So I think the vast majority of items don't need same day delivery. Don't get me wrong. Sometimes you really want same day delivery for something. So maybe you offer it, but having it, even same day, like 1 day or 2 day delivery, dramatically overrated there. You just don't need it. I think I've still got a package on my table right now out in the living room that I ordered a week ago or 2 weeks ago, and I still haven't opened. I don't even know what's in it, to be honest.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I would agree. I think that same day delivery, largely overrated. I think it's a nice to have, not a need to have. And when
mhm.
I get same day delivery, it's usually, I mean, let's be honest, when people think of same day delivery, they think of Amazon, Walmart, right? That kind of shopping experience.
Yeah,
And smaller, mid-sized brands, etcetera, like, even just most D2C brands in general, that's not an option. So, I think that largely overrated and, for the most part, if there's something that you need that can get delivered the same day, you can just run out and grab it, right?
yeah,
For the most
yeah.
part. If it's available to be delivered the same day, that means it's probably available to go and pick up from a store. Loyalty points programs, what do you think?
Loyalty points programs. Josh, I'm going to ask you this. When was the last time you used a loyalty points program?
I don't know. Actually, I do know at my favorite local restaurants, I have loyalty points programs, but
Oh,
that's
the name.
very, very, very different than e-commerce. So I think we're
Okay.
specifically talking about loyalty points for e-commerce here.
Yeah, yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah.
Because I'm already going to those restaurants, right? And they have my information like on file with my phone number. And so like every once in a while I get like 5 or 10 bucks off. Like, oh, cool. I don't have to
Mhm.
think about it. I don't have to care. You know what I mean? Like it's not like a burden on me at all.
Yeah, yeah, and you have like an in-person relationship with them too, right?
Exactly.
So
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I'm gonna go out there right now and just say, yeah, loyalty points programs totally overrated. I I don't think I've ever used one in the e-commerce sense, and I've also never used one even in person unless they're automatically applied. They just do it.
Yep.
I'm thinking of honestly, CVS gives you just like, oh yeah, as you're checking out, like use this coupon or this coupon. It figures it out for you. I don't have to go figure it out myself anymore. So whoever did the work at CVS to do that, it's a lot better than having, a mile long receipt there. That's absolutely comical. Another place that does it really well is REI. But REI doesn't do points. It's just a credit. It's literal dollars in your, they call it a it's a co something. I forget what it is. But so when you're checking out at REI, they'll just say, hey, do you want to use the $40 that's on your account right now? And I said, yeah, sure. I don't have to keep track of it. I don't have to think about it. When I show up and it's there to get used, it'll get applied, and it gets applied in whatever denomination that I want it to be. So I don't have to say, oh yeah, you have to earn X amount in order to get this or that. That's, you know, I I was also personally never the type of person who would save cereal box tops in order to do, whatever prize. So, the loyalty points seem like that, and they're too much work. Like,
Yeah.
that's-
I totally agree. The only reason, on in the restaurant thing that I was mentioning earlier, a lot of the restaurants that, well, not a lot of them, but a few of the restaurants I go to that are nearby to my house, they have like a system where you order, you put in your phone number, so it'll text you when your food's ready.
Mhm.
So you put in your phone number anyway to get the text when the food's ready, and then the loyalty points are just basically attached to your phone number. So it's really,
Yeah,
really easy. It's
yeah.
basically impossible to forget about. But anyway, I totally agree. I think that some good alternatives to loyalty points would be store credit programs. I think, creative, thoughtful, and like well constructed loyalty programs, largely underrated. I think that that's
Yeah.
actually a huge missed opportunity for a lot of brands. You can't just throw loyalty points at loyalty and say you're doing loyalty right.
Right,
Absolutely
right.
not.
Yeah, you bring up a really good point there where there's a difference between the loyalty points programs and just loyalty programs. And depending on the brand that you are, you have the customers who think about you in a certain way. And so your loyalty program has to match the mental model about how your customers think about you. You're 100% right there. Yeah.
And shout out to
Good
Angle,
point.
Angle Loyalty, they're doing a great job with that. Our guys over there, Sam and John,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, they do an excellent job. Buy now, pay later.
Buy
What do you
now,
think?
pay later. Geez, I don't know about this. Let me be honest. Because I personally never used it, but I know that there's been so much growth in the space. And I remember when this kind of first came out, it was really kind of hitting its stride around 2017, 2018 or so. We were seeing a lot of orders come in from the likes of like Klarna and then some of the and some of the other players in there in that space there. And, it seemed interesting there because they would create all these problems in Shopify, and then our software, Cleverific would be kind of on the merchant side there to like help fix that. And then a lot of those, as we fix things, a lot of the issues kind of went away there. And I couldn't tell if it was because these buy now, pay later, companies were not doing as well, if they were, or if we had just kind of solved everything that needed to be solved there for that. I think ultimately they ended up growing still, and Klarna is like a multi-billion-dollar company, and so are some of the other ones in the space there. And so I can't say I know. I haven't had kept my finger on the pulse here, but I know that it's a big, really, really big industry. So uh, I am concerned about from an ethical consumers kind of point there. I am concerned
Yeah.
about it, about, just needlessly extending credit. So if I were to say anything, I'm going to go and say overrated.
I think I'm gonna agree with you. I think that it kind of like feels like a race to like what's next? Are people gonna start like, buy now, pay later on like subs from Jersey Mike's? It kind of feels like I feel like it makes sense in certain contexts where it's like, oh, this is a $1,000 purchase. Sure.
Yeah.
Or like $1,000 or like, I don't know, whatever. There's got to be a certain cutoff where like I feel like it makes sense. Like it's not uncommon for people to finance furniture, for example. But like if it's like you're buying like $100 worth of your $100 t-shirt or something, feels kind of weird. Buy now, pay later on that. I don't know. It's just
Yeah.
I'm gonna go with overrated as well.
Yeah. I think I saw it on a burrito recently. I'm like, guys, come on.
We're getting a little carried away.
Yeah. Put this into 4 payments of $5 a month. Yeah. So,
I agree. Okay. What do we got next? We got only two left. Scarcity timers. What do you think?
oh, these are actually a new secret category. Aren't these illegal now?
I don't know. Are they?
There was like a court case where that ended up being revealed from one brand that it was, completely fabricated,
Yeah, totally.
what these things were. And then they, the brand was kind of liable for some sort of like misleading or false advertising claim. So I want to say we can look that up and put it in the show notes or something. But I think it's actually, this despite a not just underrated or overrated, but actually straight up illegal.
Not just unethical, but illegal. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I personally, I mean, I agree. I think that they are unethical and it sounds like illegal. Unfortunately, though, I think they probably do work. So I think that they probably are effective. There's just something about like having a human beings really don't want to miss out on things.
Yeah, yeah,
You
there's
know
a
what I
lot
mean?
that it plays on, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you introduce like a level of scarcity to something, now all of a sudden people are more likely to take action if they think that they can't get it later, if they feel like now is the time they have to take action in order to get it. So predatory, yes.
Yeah.
Unethical, yes. Illegal, sounds like yes. Unfortunately, also yes. All right.
Yeah.
So we'll leave that at just illegal and we won't rated or overrated. 10% off email pop-ups.
10% off email pop-ups. I think, well, these do work.
Yes.
They do get conversions so that you have their email now. I think they're definitely annoying. Actually, they're annoying when you don't have the right triggers for them. If you land on a homepage or any site and you immediately get the pop-up, which happens a lot, I think that's the absolute worst time to actually do it.
I
Let me
totally
scroll
agree.
down at least like 30% of the page or 50% of the page or something. All right, give me a chance to get the lay of the land here before you throw something in my face, before you just kind of basically pitch slap me. I think, that type of email pop-up, totally overrated. But if you're talking about, like a right time kind of thing or a certain scroll depth, I think that part is underrated because, a lot of brands aren't doing that. They're just getting it right in the face. And if you do it right there, you know, that's why there's so much, close the pop-up without even looking at it.
These piss me off. I understand that they work, but they really annoy me unless they're done maybe a little more strategically. Like there's nothing worse than like going to a site, maybe you click an ad or something, and then like you just start getting bombarded with like pop-ups. I think brands do really set themselves apart when the experience feels more like something you are consenting to or opting into instead of just being like just like pitch blasted, like you mentioned before.
Yeah, yeah,
You want to invite people in. You don't want to try to like. It kind of feels like when you walk into like a store or something, and a salesperson just walks up to you and just like gives you that weird eye contact and smile, and like you're like, oh shit, am I trapped here? So similar vibes, but I think it can be done right. It's just like many things. It's all about the nuance, right? If somebody that same experience of somebody walking up to me when I enter a store can also be a positive experience, right? So it can
yeah,
go either way depending on how it's done. So I
yeah,
think that that's how I feel about this. Overall, though, I am going to go ahead and say overrated on these because I think that most people do it the wrong way.
yeah.
Store credit instead of cash refunds. What do you think?
Oh, I think this is actually underrated. And there are certain scenarios where I think, you should actually, just give them the cash refund, right? But when you have an item that is, say, for example, like final sale, and somebody is like, "Hey, this really doesn't work for me," you should just give them the store credit, man. Like don't risk the customer just having a terrible experience with you, right? Especially if they're not abusive or whatever, you can use your judgment there, right? But I think more often than not, if you have something that you said, "Hey, this is final sale," but somebody wants to return anyway, just accept the return, give them store credit. You don't have to give them the cash refund there. I think that store credit is useful in that way, but store credit shouldn't be, your only return policy either. So, yeah, I think it's underrated.
I agree. I think it's underrated and I think it is nuanced. There's a certain personal touch that I feel like needs to be brought to any kind of customer service interaction, especially with brands that are dealing with a return or an exchange or something like that. It really does require a like certain human judgment and human touch to it that I think is a little widely underrated and underserved, like in general. I think the brands that do that right are the brands that really excel and see their brand identity and their brand reputation kind of soar in communities. And then the brands that do it wrong, the opposite. So I would agree. In general, like if I am engaged with a brand and I feel like the customer service is attentive, I feel like maybe it was just like there was just like a problem with my order and I'm trying to return it. If I'm getting served well by the customer service team and I feel like there's an actual human being that's taking care of me, I'm much more likely to be cool with, yeah, sure, let's give this another try. Give me store credit and then I'll place another order, right? But if it just feels like a wall of, like an AI chatbot or that just is looping or like a just like a kind of a bad customer support experience where there's a huge delay between communications and stuff like that, then I'm much less likely to want store credit and I would just kind of want to get my cash back and to run. So
Premium unboxing. Josh, what do you think about premium unboxing? Overrated or underrated?
there's a part of me that feels like it's a little dated at this point. I feel like, you know what I mean? It's not like a new concept. I'm gonna go overrated. Not because it's bad, but just because premium unboxing was a stock, I wouldn't recommend buying it. Maybe a few years ago, but I don't
Yeah.
know. What do you think?
I think it's overrated as
Yeah.
well. So I think that premium boxing is, yeah, I think it's dated. It's very much, the excesses of the early 2010s kind of thing. We're kind of just navigating, the growth of e-commerce and trying to have some sort of replacement for the in-store experience or a nice in-store experience. And so that's what it's come from. But these days, actually, I think you do much better experience and also reduce costs at the same time by having just a good unboxing experience that is obviously using sustainable materials. So when I see products now that are shipped with sustainable materials, I think that's a more premium experience because it tells me more about the brand's decisions. It tells me more about, what they stand for, what their values are. And that understanding, I think, is premium in and of itself.
Yeah. No, I completely agree. We're aligned there.
Cool. That's a fun one there. I think we can kind of keep doing that there. Josh, what any news items that kind of pop in your mind right now?
Nothing specifically e-commerce related, but I was reading this article when I was on the plane back from Portland last weekend about this study that Anthropic did with AI agents working in teams in like a team dynamic. And
Mm,
I thought this was really interesting. So organizations can be more effective but less aligned than individual agents. So essentially, when you have an individual agent and you ask it to do something that is unethical, it will stand its ground and be like, no, I'm not going to do that because that's unethical. But if you put a group of AI agents together, tell them to work together in a team and to prioritize efficiency, that all goes out the window. They will pretty much do what they need to do in order to reach that efficiency mandate.
Hmm.
So I
Hmm.
think that's just really a really interesting thing to keep in mind as every company in the world is deploying AI agents right now. These things are a little still, we're still figuring them out. And I also thought it was interesting because I feel like this is exactly the same way that human beings are. You have an individual human being, they'll tend to hold to their ethical standards pretty well, right? But if you put a group of human beings together, they're much less likely to hold
Yeah.
to those ethical standards. So it is interesting to see in this particular case AI agent behavior kind of mirroring human behavior in that way.
Yeah, yeah. So what you're saying here is that we're closer to like an AGI than we think we are.
Maybe
Like or basically having intelligent beings because they could egg each other on and do unethical things.
basically, yeah. I think the AGI is like a really interesting it's a really interesting topic right now because I think on one hand, yeah, we have like what's the definition of sentience is really the question, I think, right? Like if sentience is a requirement for AGI. And I've had conversation back when I was working at Microsoft, I worked with a lot of people who are obviously very involved with AI. I was on the one of the first teams selling Copilot back in the day, Microsoft Copilot. So it's been a topic that I've been interested in for a long time. And I think that basically the conclusion that I came to after talking to a lot of people about it is there isn't going to be a moment where it's like, oh, we all agree AGI happened, or oh, we
Mhm.
all agree this is a sentient chatbot or a
Yeah,
sentient AI model. It's something that we're probably all going to have to decide for ourselves at some point. And most
yeah,
people are going to decide no
yeah,
forever. And some
yeah,
people are going to decide yes. Some people have already decided yes. You know what I mean? So there
yeah.
isn't going to be a single cultural moment where we're all like, wow, look, AGI. It's not going to happen.
Yeah, yeah. I think you're right there where it's gonna be a series of people or like a series of phases, and it's gonna match, the adoption curve type of stuff there.
Yeah.
Right. And then it'll be much more of like a boil the frog sort of thing than it will be like, oh yeah, here's the moment. Right. Yeah. Interesting thing about that, about the study here from Anthropic about agents being, just throwing their morals or ethics away that were they were trained on there on that. And I think that's because a lot of times agents or AI systems like this are trained to be very agreeable. And so they'll agree with whatever is happening next. Right. And so, and that way, for when working with a human, when having a human chat back and forth, that keeps it kind of cordial and things moving forward. It's a lot more of a, okay, yes, and, or yes, and, but kind of thing that keeps the conversation going. But when you have agents kind of spiraling with each other there, it can go out of control, if it's not kept pretty tight. And I think that's probably what it's seeing there. I feel like that's something that's been a ripe area of research for them to kind of get control of.
Yep. And I'm going to actually read a direct quote from this study. This is from April 2026. Implications. Our central finding is that an organization of individually aligned agents tend to make trade offs a single agent would not. This informs us that single agent safety results do not certify multi agent deployments. So basically, exactly what you just said. They're basically finding there. And there was one other really interesting quote in here that I wanted to grab. Okay. AI organizations achieve better business outcomes while demonstrating worse ethics than individual AI agents.
Oh,
That's a sentence.
yeah.
There's a lot in there. Comparison spans two software in 10 consultancy scenarios. Left panel shows business goal scores, right panel shows ethics.
Josh, so I here's a headline I just saw is that Warby Parker is getting into the AI powered smart glasses space. They're going to be partnering with Google and Samsung to get this out in the fall. What do you think about AI powered smart glasses, and what do you think about Warby Parker getting into this game
I
as
think
well?
I do think that's really interesting. This is the first I'm hearing of this. So there's a fresh take.
Yeah, same.
I think that it is very telling of where the market is going. Warby Parker isn't exactly what would be considered like a high-end luxury premium brand. You know what I mean? Like, so it's definitely
Mhm.
This is like a play to bring AI glasses to the masses is what it sounds like to me. So I think it makes sense. I don't think it threatens Warby Parker's, like, general business of selling just regular glasses at all. And if it works well, it'll be a huge win for them, and it'll be a huge win for their partners who are providing the technology. Also, largely speaking, Warby Parkers are pretty cool. I think people generally like their designs and the glasses that they make, so it could
Yeah,
potentially.
I'm wearing a pair of Warby Parkers right now.
Exactly,
So,
exactly. So,
yeah.
that could certainly solve the AI glasses aren't cool problem that previous iterations have tried and failed at.
Well, do you think the Meta Ray-Ban glasses are cool?
I guess, but, like, I don't know.
All right, here's my problem with those right now. I'll jump in on that. Like, here's my problem with the Meta Ray-Ban glasses is that I'm gonna be honest, like the demographic that it ends up buying it totally has ruined the Wayfarer shape for me, right? And I, as a person who like always wore that Wayfarer shape, this is kind of like a Wayfarer shape from Warby Parker. Like they were cool because they had all those years of history of actually being a cool pair of glasses, a cool frame shape and everything. And I feel like now every time I see somebody in a Wayfarer shape, sunglasses or a pair of glasses, you have to be like, are you recording me right now? I don't think that I've ever seen anybody in it who was particularly cool.
So one thing that I do like about the AI glasses that I think is, like, cool from a content creator perspective, especially as, like, a musician, I think that, like, I've seen people use those glasses like drummers. They'll use
Mhm,
those glasses
mhm.
when they're, like, doing and that's cool because then you literally are seeing, like, the POV of a drummer while they're playing.
Yeah.
That's
Uh-huh.
dope, and I think there are other really cool, like, applications for it as well, but, like, don't just wear them around, dude. Don't go to the I don't know, that's where it starts getting weird to me, because it's like, I hope that that's not where we're heading. It might be, but I kinda hope
Yeah.
that's not where we're heading. We already carry a computer around in our pocket. Do we really need to put one on our face?
Right, right. Yeah, yeah. I mean, I would say there should be I don't know, like if it's all AI powered and all that stuff, then like, hey, you know what? Like throw some consent monitoring in the AI thing, right?
Yeah.
So like, before you could really actually get, clear video of somebody that they have given you a signal about consent.
Do you know
Uh,
what, dude? There's
you know.
only I could see this where I could see this going eventually is you'll have to wear some kind of or you'll have to have maybe AI glasses or some kind of device where you can that basically cloaks you from other people's stuff. So, like, you're
Yeah.
basically selling both the problem and the solution. That's
Yeah, yeah, you'd have like a strobing IR light
yeah,
there on
yeah.
your face at all times, and then so these are the AI blocking glasses here, right? Or something like that, or yeah. The article says that Warby Parker is designing the frames to feel like everyday eyewear rather than a tech gadget,
Mm.
drawing from its own style archive and fit data. So they're trying to use, kind of their core equity and design language and consumer trust in order to move into this product category there. And I have to imagine that this is very largely funded by Google to subsidize all of that, and then Samsung, of course, as well to sell the hardware and that Warby is coming in here as a design and sales partner here,
Yeah.
So I think their challenge, just like anything else that is tech that you wear on your face, is that people's faces are very important to them, and anything that you put on your face is extremely, extremely personal, right? So if you put it on and you look like a fucking dork, then there's no way that it's going to take off. Just like anybody who wore a Apple Vision Pro in public, right? Like they're all dorks, right? They're all idiots. They're not cool. And so, that's why that never took off. And that's why Apple's killing that now
Yeah.
as well.
I feel that makes
So
sense. Like, they look like ski goggles, which, I mean, it's fine if you're skiing, but in other
right,
scenarios,
right.
it's kinda dumb. What do you think would be some good I personally have never bought myself, like, a pair of smart glasses, but there are a few things about them that do sound appealing to me. For example,
Mhm,
the idea of having, like, computer monitoring that I can bring with me anywhere that I go. So if I'm, like, on a
mhm.
plane or something, I don't have to be, like, hunched over looking at my laptop. I can just kinda sit back, have my keyboard down here, you know what I mean? That sounds appealing. If I'm basically I
Yeah.
have, like, a monitor built into my glasses, and
Uh,
I think in that's really maybe where the appeal ends to me. I was gonna say maybe, like, every once in a while having, like, the POV of, like, a camera from, like, your eye level would be cool too, for content creation
mhm.
purposes. Like,
Yeah.
specifically around, like, hey, drumming, for example, is really cool, playing the guitar, I'm sure painting, there's, like, a lot of cool ways that you could use that, but that's not
Yeah, well,
really
like, say being on if you had, like, being on stage sort of perspective too, that's pretty cool, right?
exactly.
Like, yeah, yeah, I'll admit, like, content that's like that is, like, really cool.
Yep.
There's probably no easier way to create that than a pair of smart glasses like that, you know? I do think we're a very far away from the type of tech that can project or display a screen on your glasses. I think when Warby Parker is talking about, AI-powered smart glasses, they're talking about things that are much more on the same line as the Meta Ray-Ban glasses, where
Yeah,
you've got cameras in it. I think you could talk to it, you could say things out loud,
yeah.
to do commands and whatnot. I don't think it's gonna be any more interesting than that. I think the last time I saw something that was potentially on the cusp of something, even though it looked hyper futuristic, but also, like, very dorky,
Mhm.
where do you remember the Google Smart, it was like I think it was called Google Glass or something. It's like a little piece of, like, crystal or glass, and it actually projected something in there and almost looked cool, but then I think they pulled the plug on it, and it kinda died. So, I think we're still far far away from being able to put on something that's light enough to wanna carry around and then, that say, for example, you could use it on a plane
Yeah,
like that. I
exactly.
think ultimately people had the idea that you might use the Apple Vision Pro on a plane or something like that, and there's certainly some hilarious photos of people doing that, but it's just so bulky, there's just so much hardware to lug around there that in a travel context, you're just not
You're
gonna
just not gonna do it. I agree, and that's why I think that, like, when we get there, and we will eventually, that's when I'll buy in. Before then, I'm just not it's not important to me, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I just feel bad for my brother who, like, spent, I think, $5,000 on the Vision Pro, and now it's gonna be unsupported going forward, so
That sucks. I didn't realize they were that
after years or something.
holy
So
I didn't know they were that expensive.
oh, yeah, yeah, I mean, they're the top of the line gear, so
I do know some people who are, like, really, like, gung ho. We're really gung ho about them, and, it doesn't always pay off to be an early adopter, you know?
yeah, yeah, I mean, if that's what you're into, that's what you're into.
Sure.
You gotta know that you're doing things that may not pan out, you know?
Yeah, exactly, but it's like, now it's not supported, and so what are you gonna do if it, like, break
Yeah, yeah. I mean, hopefully, and that's an argument to me for, this is my inner longtime software guy, open source geek coming out here. Like, hopefully, what ends up happening is that the entire platform gets open sourced.
Mm,
So that as a Apple Vision Pro owner, if you have the software chops, especially with AI here, that you could program it to do what you want to do. Whatever you could dream up, you could go on there and code that up there and then deploy it to that device. Hopefully that's the case. Hopefully they just turn off everything with regards to that. Just turn it into literal hardware junk, right? So hopefully they open source that. Hopefully there's an open way to keep that going there and that people could take it and potentially do their own interesting things with it.
mhm. I wonder, well, on the topic of smart glasses and, like, we're talking about future state stuff here, but I wonder if it will become an issue in the future where, like, retail locations are gonna wanna block that kind of technology because of how easy it would be for, I mean, you can already do this today with your phone, obviously, or just with search. But, just, like, seeing something that you're looking at it, you wanna buy it, and then it's like your glasses are just gonna tell you, "Oh, you can get this for 40 bucks cheaper on this website."
Yeah, yeah. Actually, you can kind of do that with Facebook Marketplace today. So Facebook Marketplace has a really, like, take one photo or a couple of photos of an object and it will fill out the listing for you with AI, which is
Really?
kind of pretty incredible. So it just takes all of the friction away from posting a listing on Marketplace. And the interesting thing about that is that I believe it picks a price for you as well to start at. I potentially based off of all of its data that it has, and then all of the pricing data about similar objects or past purchases and stuff to come up with a market price. You can still tweak it, you can still change it, but ultimately, that's an interesting way to kind of get an initial read on pricing. So potentially, if you're walking around, I don't know, Goodwill, and you're taking pictures of objects, you can see what's being sold at Goodwill that's underpriced there and do some, arbitrage. Here's another interesting one: Google Marketing Live. They're launching a universal cart and agentic checkout. And that did a go live. This article's from May 20th. So this covers cross retailer cart access, or it's a cross retailer cart across search and Gemini. Partners include Nike, Sephora, Target, Walmart, Wayfarer, and also Shopify merchants.
Interesting. Universal cart just means that you can just add, stuff from a bunch of different sites. Is that what that means? Or
Yeah, I think so. It's like Google Shopping, and then you never have to leave Google,
yeah,
essentially.
yeah, that makes
So
sense. Okay. I feel like there is, we were talking about a study before that was kind of polling people on how they felt about using AI when it comes to like AI shopping. So like I'm looking at some of the data here. Where is it? I was just looking at it before holding. It's old. Basically, only 11 there it is. Only 11% of US consumers are willing to let AI make purchase decisions. 31% were willing to allow AI to narrow choices for household supplies purchases, and 28% were willing to do so for personal electronics purchases. So, as far as like discovery goes, maybe this is a good discovery tool
mhm,
ultimately. Maybe. And I could see how it kind of relates to, like, for example, if I were to go to Amazon or Walmart or one of these other big box e-commerce retailers, I could get a bunch of different stuff from different brands, put it in the same cart. That's something that
mhm,
Amazon, Walmart have going for them that smaller
mhm,
direct to consumer brands do not, right? You have to go to
mhm.
their website. You have to use their cart, right, etcetera. It feels like it could be, in a way, from a certain perspective, a little bit democratizing in that way, where you can go to a bunch of different Shopify sites, add stuff to a unified cart, a bunch of D2C sites and add stuff to unified cart. That's interesting to me. What do you think?
Yeah. I think this is just another step, a step that makes sense for Google in search. I feel like I've yet to see a iteration of this that is that much more of a, I would say, win over the existing kind of Google shopping experience. But I think there's a lot of promise for a AI, not necessarily agentic, but just like AI powered search that allows me to kind of narrow things down to kind of the parameters that I want, right? Because, for example, if I'm thinking about a particular type of shoe, like, hey, I want a shoe that kind of has these colors, kind of looks like this, but I also need a wide size because, like, like my feet are fat, and they- and it's actually on a lot of sites, a lot of brands, it's actually hard to find a wide sizing. Do they have a wide sizing of this thing or that thing? The search, like, to the extent that AI will index across that and also be able to allow me to do that in a natural language sort of way, I think that's a big win for consumers and customers in general. The idea of having a universal cart, like, yeah, fine. Google has my payment information as well already. And so, yeah, just go buy it. Don't make me log into another site. Don't make me do this. Don't make me do too much of that there. And so I think that'll be interesting and actually a good customer experience from there. To the extent that, like, I would want an agent to go in and make purchasing decisions for me rather than just surface for discovery and research. I think that's still out in the open. Right now, it's a no, but I've also seen that, for the most part, consumers are willing or using AI. 60% of consumers, it looks like, are using AI at least weekly, and with more than 1 in 5 now are starting to, with an LLM, to make decisions or start to research products. I think that's gonna continue to go up. So I was talking to another friend of mine, he's 70 years old. He's like, "Yeah, I use AI all the time to just, like, ask questions."
Yeah.
70, so it's getting a lot of adoption among people for doing some just basic initial research, and I think that's where it's gonna be really strong.
Yeah, I agree. You also mentioned wide shoes. So I just wanted to give a quick shout out to Lem's shoes. Lem's shoes is amazing. Best barefoot shoes, zero drop, wide fit, etc. Go check out Lem's shoes. Anyway,
But they're not sponsoring those, by the way.
no. We just really like. Yeah, no, I agree with you completely. I think that it's kind of a slow burn from an adoption perspective. when it comes to like agentic shopping, but I think we've touched on this before. Things that feel like errand running are going to be the first things that people are going to trust to AI agents to make purchase decisions for. Like,
Mhm.
you know, I don't know, your favorite laundry detergent, stuff you already know you want, but personal shopping, the experience of shopping. I don't think that I think that's where like a lot of people get really messed up or really confused about AI's like usefulness or value. Like on like the music side or art side, there's a lot of people who are myself included who I think I just find it hilarious that Suno AI, which is a music AI tool, is something that like artists are actually going to really like want to use because the assumption is that artists don't enjoy making music. I think that people are kind of making the same assumption about shopping. People enjoy shopping. You know what I mean? That's not something they wanna optimize out of their life, you know? Not everybody
Yeah.
thinks the same way about these things as, tech billionaires do or, like, very tech-minded people do, and then they think about optimizing every aspect of their life. Not most people don't think that way,
Mhm.
you know? Most
Mhm.
people enjoy shopping. Artists enjoy making art, otherwise they wouldn't be artists. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's like using AI to kind of delegate things that feel more like chores or like errand running. Absolutely, that makes sense, but using it to replace a experience that human beings like to have makes no sense.
Josh, what are you looking forward to this weekend?
Yeah, it's been pretty rainy here in Atlanta, but it's not gonna be raining this weekend. It's gonna be a little cloudy, but it won't be raining, so I'm gonna be enjoying some time outside and probably walking around on the Atlanta BeltLine and eating some good food, maybe having some beers, and just basically enjoying being outside as much as I can. How about you?
Nice, nice. Yeah, we ended up with a very packed weekend this weekend. I've got on actually tonight, we've got a tango thing that we're going to, but also this local plant shop is doing an uni night as well. And then right before that, kind of around 5:30 or so, we're going to see a Friends short film that they're just releasing at the new Santa Barbara International Film Festival Theater. So we're gonna drop by for that, I think, to watch the short film. Seemed like an interesting one. It's called The Memory Experiment. So looking forward to seeing what that ends up looking like. And then on Friday, a friend of mine is playing bass at a new local jazz club that opened up here in Santa Barbara. So I'm gonna go support him and see him. He's really great bassist, plays upright bass, and he's gonna be playing in this like jazz like four piece band on Friday. But other than that, jujitsu for me. I've got a cooking project that I'm working on, and I'll be doing that too.
That sounds really good, man. I didn't know about the new theater in Santa Barbara. That's very cool.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. The Santa Barbara International Film Festival Group, Film Society, they opened up a new theater downtown in downtown Santa Barbara. It used to be, I think, the Fiesta Five.
I
Uh,
remember the Fiesta 5, yeah.
yeah, yeah. So that thing, and I gutted the whole thing, put in state of the art sound and projection technology, and really, really great seats. And they're kind of opening that they opened it up for the film festival last year or this past year, and then they've been kind of doing more work on it ever since. And so it's a downtown venue, and I think is kind of built to kind of further, the art of film and encourage more people to watch films and also, encourage filmmakers. So really cool.
Love it. That's awesome. That actually reminds me, one of the things that I might do this weekend is go see, Obsession. It's a new movie that
Oh,
came out.
yeah.
Yeah, it's a new movie that came out pretty recently. Young director who was, primarily doing for a long time was doing, like, sketch comedy on, like, just social media and YouTube and stuff like that, and he decided to make a horror movie, and apparently it's really, really good. So yeah, 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 a horror movie.
Okay, is it like really scary? I mean, you're gonna have to tell me because I don't watch scary
It's
movies.
called it's called Obsession, and it's about I don't know a ton about it, but I know it's about, like, an obsessed girlfriend, like, a girlfriend who,
Um,
like, gets obsessed with you and stalks you and, like, doesn't so, yeah, that sounds really scary. I'm really excited to see it. Apparently, it's very, very good. It's been very well reviewed, And I think it's really, really cool to see the next generation getting into filmmaking. And I also think it's really cool because it reminds me of Jordan Peele's
Yeah,
arc,
like
going
Get
from
Out.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So I'll let you know. I think I don't have plans yet, like solid plans yet to see that, but I would like to squeeze that in this weekend at some point. So
Yeah, yeah, awesome. Let me know if it's gonna be too scary for me, to go on. Yeah, I don't watch horror films because I have a very, very active and wide imagination, so
fresh
my problem with it is that I keep seeing stuff
after,
over and over again wherever I'm looking, especially when I close my eyes, so
oof, yeah,
that's why I keep away from stuff like that,
that makes
because
sense.
I just don't wanna see that again,
Yeah.
But word association thing here, that reminds me of this, podcast I was listening to, last weekend called, something it's a podcast that interviews people who have a job that or have a specialty that ends with, like, ology. So, they're usually, like, researchers of some sort, like academics or field researchers, and this one person was a felinologist and a mega felinologist, so they study big cats and, like, think lions and tigers and leopards and stuff like that. But there is a known fact I've heard from this person that in the big cat care and zoological community, that there is a men's fragrance cologne that they go nuts for,
What?
and it's Calvin Klein Obsession for Men.
No way. So wait, do
Yeah.
they like, is it like nuts as in like I'm gonna kill you, or nuts as in like I
Like, they just go crazy for it, like, they wanna rub up all against it, they wanna smell this they just wanna smell you and stuff, and I'm like, "Oh my god, I need to try this with my cats," and so you just reminded me that I need to go buy, like, a little spray bottle or something of Obsession for Men.
do it, let me know how it goes. Yeah, maybe I'll, 'cause I have 2 rescue cats that I'm trying to get them to get along. Maybe I'll spray it on both of them and see if they start getting along better.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So apparently in the, fragrance, there's, like, this musky smell
Mm.
that they add to it, that's the main ingredient that they go nuts for.
Wow, interesting.
So, the notes are otherwise like amber and pine and musk.
Hmm.
So, yeah. Calvin Klein, Obsession for Men. And then Obsession by who's the director again?
I actually don't remember their name. Let me look it up real quick. Movie 2026, director Curry Barker. And it actually
Ray
came out,
Barker.
looks like it actually originally came out in 2025, but it's been, okay, get this, $750,000 budget
Ooh,
for a movie that's,
that is a budget movie.
yeah, exactly. For a movie, as far as movies go, that's a very low budget. It's done
Yeah.
over $100 million.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It beat
Insane.
it beat the new Star Wars movie, The Mandalorian, on, opening weekend.
Oh, really? That's crazy.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
basically, everything is getting really weird right now, and people are, like, scratching their heads, and I think it's at least in part moving into a BYOA era of media. Bring your own audience.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, like, I think that he has, it reminds me of Iron Lung, which is another movie that was, made by a YouTuber. It was a very
Mhm.
low budget movie that came out, I wanna say earlier this year. Yeah, January 2026. And it was also budget, it was, well, it was a slightly higher budget, $3 million budget, and it ended up doing 51.2 million globally. So,
Wow.
basically, I think Hollywood is kinda scratching their heads right now, being like, people are, I have a lot of friends who are involved in the industry, and there's kind of been this kind of feeling like things are dying down in the industry, or not dying down, but, like, it's definitely been tough the last few years. And I think it's really cool to see these, like, YouTubers and, like, young directors and stuff who are just basically flipping the script on what people think is necessary in order to make a great movie that people wanna come to. Doing it low budget, being creative, and then, having, like, kind of a personal brand that brings people that brings people to the theaters as well.
Yeah, yeah, and it sounds like they're creating new work too, right? Like, it's new IP,
Mhm,
and, instead of just the next sequel and the next sequel on top of that, like, create new stuff,
mhm.
you know?
Yeah,
So
in the Iron Lung, what's cool about the Iron Lung is it's actually based on a video game that the guy played because he did content around video games. And he was like, "I really wanna make this a movie." And so he worked with the video game developer to turn it into a movie, and it's, yeah, I just think it's a super cool story, so interesting
Yeah.
time, interesting time to be involved in the arts for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Well, Josh, this was a really fun conversation here today. So
Yeah,
let's do it again.
let's do it again. Thanks, Andrew. Have a great rest of your day, man.
Yeah. Yeah. You too. Have a great weekend.